Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be going over my version of smoked spare ribs. Here I have 10 pounds of pork spare ribs from Costco. I'm going to be smoking them using my Traeger grill, and I'm going to go over the very simple and easy to follow directions on how I smoke spare ribs. I hope you follow along and you enjoy. The first thing you want to do is take your ribs out of the package and inspect them. These are nice ribs. But what I want to do is come over here and take a look at the excess fat. I'm going to trim a little bit of the excess fat off using this knife. So what I want to do next is pull back and remove the membrane on the bottom of the ribs. I loosen it with a knife a little bit on the edge, and then I use a paper towel to kind of grip it because sometimes membranes are slippery. I'm going to take a little bit of olive oil and just put it on the ribs. This is to cause the seasoning to adhere to the meat. Some people might use a mustard or something else. I just generally stick with olive oil. So I want to rub the rib down pretty good with the olive oil. Once the rib's nice and rubbed down with the olive oil, I'm going to apply a little bit of seasoning to it. Now with ribs, you want to be careful not to over season them. It is kind of easy to do that. What I'm using today is some Pit Happens Texas Pit Barbecue Rub, and I'm just going to season it nice and even on top of the ribs. And I'm going to repeat that process 2 more times with my other ribs. Today I'm going to be smoking on my Traeger wood pellet grill. What I've done is I've gone and set it up on the smoke setting. I'm going to give it a little bit to get going, and once I see that it's got some nice smoke coming out of it, I'll know it's ready to go. And I'll go ahead and put my ribs on. Alright, so now we've got the grill getting nice and smoky. As you can see, we're going to go ahead and put the ribs on. And what I've done is I've put a small water bowl in the chamber just to keep it nice and moist in there while we're smoking it. Alright, so I've got my ribs in there. I'm going to go ahead and close the lid. I'm going to make sure I just keep it closed. It's important you want to keep it closed. Don't want to open it and let all the heat and smoke out. And I'm going to come back in about an hour and a half. I'm going to spritz it with a little bit of water on top of the ribs just to keep them nice and moist, just a teeny bit, and then close it again. And we want to check on them in about 3 hours, and they should be a nice dark mahogany color. If they're that, we're going to go ahead and pull them off and get ready to wrap them and go on to the next step. Alright, so we're going to check on the meat now. What we want to see is that it's a nice mahogany color. Now we haven't opened the lid, so this will be the first time we're opening the lid, and we're going to check it out. The ribs are looking good. They've got good color to them. A little bit of blood coming out of them. That's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap them up, take them inside now, and we'll go to the next step. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we've got 2 layers of aluminum foil here. I use 2 layers just in case a bone pokes through or something. Sometimes that could cause an issue. So I double it up with this aluminum foil. I'm going to take some butter, and I'm just going to kind of put a little bit of butter on the meat and spread it around. What you want is the butter's actually going to kind of cook into it, make it a nice flavor. Alright, next what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of brown sugar to the top of it. I like my ribs to be kind of sweet. So once we got a little bit of brown sugar on there, the last thing we're going to do is add a little bit of honey to it. Just kind of drizzle that honey on top. And now get ready to wrap them up. Now the last thing we're gonna add before we seal it up totally is a little bit of cherry cola. This is a specialty cherry cola. Generally, you could use cherry Pepsi, which is what I've used in the past. This is my first time using this cherry cola. Some people use Dr. Pepper. We're just gonna put a little bit in here around the edge. It's gonna help keep everything nice and moist. Add a little bit of flavor to the meat. Just a little bit. We don't want to get too crazy. And then we're going to wrap it up completely. All right, so what I've done is I've turned the Traeger now up to 250 degrees. Hold on. We're going to go ahead and put the ribs back on the grill. We're gonna shut it and we'll come back in about 2 hours and check on them. All right, so it's been about another 2 hours. We're gonna check here on our ribs. So we wanna just kind of test and see. You can tell they're kind of cooked by the way they feel. We're gonna go ahead and pull them off now. I've got some barbecue sauce here. I'm gonna use Stubbs Sweet Honey Barbecue and Spice. And what I'm gonna do is just apply it nice here and liberally to the top of my ribs. Now that we've got the barbecue sauce applied to the ribs, we're going to toss them back here on the grill at 250 for about 15 to 10 more minutes and just get that barbecue sauce to kind of cook onto the ribs. All right, we're going to just, now that we've got the sauce on the ribs, we're just going to put the ribs back on the grill here and get that barbecue sauce just kind of cooked on there. So we're still at 250. We're going to do about 15 more minutes, 10 or 15 more minutes, come and check on it, see how it looks. All right, so we're pulling the ribs off. As you can see, we lost one bone out of the side of there. Looks like these are fall off the bone ribs. So that completed my version of smoked ribs. Pretty easy instructions, pretty easy directions, nothing too complicated. They came out really nice. They're a little sweet. I like my ribs sweet. You can kind of play with the sweetness depending on how much brown sugar or how much honey you want to put on it. But they came out pretty good. Had a couple friends over. We had a nice dinner with some cornbread, a little bit of watermelon, salad, and it was pretty good.